So, of course, we've been talking about India, so let's go straight to it, because the Indian government's Interministerial Committee has submitted its report on the use of virtual currencies in India. It recommends a ban on cryptocurrency. So, Jason, of course, you are located in India. Could you please explain what this report means, and is the blanket ban likely to actually be enforced at all?
So, yeah, I think it is likely to be enforced. The ban basically recommends 10 years in prison for anybody who buys, holds, or sells cryptocurrencies in India. And there's already a ban on transferring funds to and from exchanges. So this is just an extension of that existing ban. It just takes it one step further. And also, India has proposed a tax on cash transactions over a certain amount, something like over $2,000, $3,000 in a year. And so the ban on crypto is just a way to make that enforceable and give that policy a little bit more teeth. But ultimately, I think it reflects a poor understanding of distributed ledger technology and essentially the whole concept of cryptocurrency in the first place. Keep in mind that this committee was actually fairly high level. I mean, it was led by Economic Affairs Secretary Subhash Garg, and essentially not only proposed a jail term for buying and selling and trading, but also things like mining. And it effectively suggested elimination of the crypto asset altogether from the entire payment ecosystem. I mean, it makes sense for the government to mandate things like KYC processes for individual investors, and also institute certain investor protections. But the government shouldn't be in the position where they're deciding where one can invest their money or where somebody can. I think banning is obviously a really regressive step. I mean, you could have had appropriate regulatory framework that would ensure customer protection while at the same time being able to foster innovation. With sufficient protection, consumers could obviously make some informed decisions about investments. But that was not an option that was that is likely to be provided to people. Another point is that the government wants to eliminate the use of crypto assets altogether in payment systems, but they want to aggressively promote blockchain technology. Which means that they sort of think that they can delink blockchain transactions from crypto. And that shows essentially what I think is a poor understanding of the technology in general, and especially public ledgers more specifically, because you need to have some way to motivate the people that are essentially, when you're looking about public blockchains, motivating those people to essentially go through and process those transactions. The other interesting thing that shows kind of how wrong-headed this policy is that in contrast to the U.S. SEC and the financial, the FATF, it's sort of in contrast to the strategy that those organizations have taken. This panel only looked at virtual currencies as a technology. As a technology specifically. They didn't attempt to classify the underlying purchase of those tokens into financial instruments or classifying them into common categories like currencies, securities, or utilities, which is basically what's done by the SEC. But they're essentially banning the technology as a whole, as opposed to regulating the investment. And that sort of runs afoul of sort of basic financial practices. And you have people like Nouriel Roubini, who seems pretty pleased, and his point is that cryptocurrencies have lost 99% of their value from their peak, most cryptocurrencies, and that's sort of the claim that is echoed by a lot of people that are seeking to ban this. But that's an unfair point because most of these funds are funding startups anyways, and it's not out of line with general startup statistics that a vast majority of them would fail. So by that logic, they would be probably banning AR or VR next. I mean, I think that argument is ludicrous and sort of holds crypto to a higher standard.
We're talking about crypto every single day on our program, and it, for me personally, absolutely blows my mind to think, well, actually, you could get a 10-year penalty and prison sentence. So if you don't mind me asking, Jason, what does that mean for you and your position? Because obviously you are based in India.
Well, I think a lot of people in the blockchain space are going to be looking to move out of India and seek better fortunes abroad.
Okay, well, thank you for giving us your input there. So, John, of course,